So buckle up, everybody. President Trump hit Truth Social on February 19th, 2026, and straight up ordered the Secretary of War, Pete Hecht, and every relevant agency to start digging into and releasing government files on aliens, extraterrestrial life, UAPs, UFOs, the whole 9 yards. So here's what he said. Based on the tremendous interest shown, I will be directing the Secretary of War and other relevant departments and agencies to begin the process of identifying and releasing government files related to alien extraterrestrial life, unidentified aerial phenomena, UAP, and unidentified flying objects, UFOs. Thanks for adding in the UFOs part in there, and any and all other information connected to these highly complex but extremely interesting and important matters. God bless America. So this isn't some random move. Is riding massive public buzz after former President Obama was on a podcast and he made some comments speculating that the statistical likelihood of extraterrestrial life was high. But he did say that there was no evidence to verify any contact. But then right after that, President Trump cites tremendous interest and boom, declassification processes kick off. Why now? What could come out of this? And how does this play into bigger threats or secrets that are out there when it comes to military tech? Well, I was recently on the Weaponized podcast with Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp, and we had an awesome time talking about some UAP encounters that I've had. I'll link to that in the description. But I want to react to a clip that they recently released of a formation UAP, which I think is super cool. I'll link to that full video as well. We're going to review that. And then I'm going to show you some footage from New York 15 years ago that looks very similar. And then after that, if that wasn't enough, we'll talk about the UAP Hellfire missile that gets deflected, and I'll recount maybe how some of this is all related with these formation UAPs, what I see with that Hellfire being repelled. So this is going to be Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp reacting to some of their latest released UAP footage of a formation UAP in the Persian Gulf. And obviously right now, that part of the world is a very applicable place. So let's check it out. Wow, this looks to me like some sort of MQ-9, some sort of advanced surveillance drone from the US. Lots of sorties of those drones flying over there. Whoa, that's weird. That's crazy how it bounces out like a slingshot. Yeah, that's clearly not one craft with 3 points of light on the corners, right? So these objects seem to be aware and intelligent of one another, and they're keeping like equidistant as they fly. But then all of a sudden, you see one make this playful little move as if it drops back in the formation and then comes forward again. But again, this is a military filmed piece of UAP footage designated by our Department of Defense or Department of War now as UAP in formation, and it's pretty interesting movement. Its display of movement is what is interesting to me about this. I think that's a really good call. I mean, it's almost like these things have little mini force fields around them so that they don't hit and collide with each other. They're just bouncing around. That's very interesting formation work. Yeah, it's a special place in the world. You can understand why there would be a number of military platforms keeping an eye on whatever's in the sky down there. It's over the Persian Gulf. It's over water. And that body of water on one side is our ally Saudi Arabia. On the other side is Iran. Not so nice contemporary of in that region. But you can imagine why we would be keeping an eye on whatever is flying in the sky right around there. And I think that's a really good distinction. You know where this is happening because we know that Iran has very advanced drones and they've actually doubled down with China and Russia as well. So again, if this isn't extraterrestrial, we don't know for sure yet. Right? That's up for the viewers to decide and investigators to decide. And that's what these two guys are doing right now, trying to get this out to the public and share so that we can figure out what it is. But Iran, Russia, China, very focused on Shahed drones and other advanced drones. This to me doesn't look like anything I've seen out of that part of the world when it comes to their advanced drone warfare at this point. So let's break down what President Trump's post really means. So he directed the Secretary of War and other applicable agencies to identify and release files connected to alien life. That means UAP, unidentified anomalies, UFOs. There's no timeline given, no specific documents that are named just to begin the process. And this follows standard declassification rules, interagency reviews. So this will all have to be reviewed and protected to protect the sources, methods, and ultimately national security. But why is President Trump releasing this order now? He's tying it to fresh curiosity related to UAPs. And the Pentagon's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, ARO, has said for years, including in their 2024 report, that there's been no confirmed extraterrestrial tech. Most of the sightings are related to drones, balloons, mice identifications, or maybe even black projects. But there's hundreds of reports coming out annually, and now with the Weaponized podcast out there getting out even more information. To me, this order holds a lot more weight than what we've seen in the past. And popping to Jeremy Corbell's Instagram, he's got a great Instagram. Highly recommend you go over there and follow him. Here's what he said about the presidential buzz on UAPs. He said about the presidential announcement today on UFOs. The UFO puzzle has always been measured in millimeters, not inches. This is an opportunity, not an announcement. This is one small step for man, an opportunity towards UFO transparency. And then check this out. This is another video from Jeremy Corbell's Instagram. Incredibly entertaining and insightful at the same time. This is with Duncan Trussell, and this is with a UAP that exhibits impossible acceleration. So let's check this out. These guys are just fun to watch. Incredibly entertaining. Boom. It's just gone, man. That is insane. So that's some serious military tech that I've never heard of before. And if aliens are watching us react to this, they're probably laughing. They're like, yeah, that's just another Tuesday. This is our commute to work. We have instantaneous acceleration as we're commuting to the office. Silly humans. But here's where things get spicy. The adversary here in this situation, it isn't always clear, right? Because could this be foreign powers mimicking this alien tech? Were they gifted this alien tech and now they have it? What if this UAP stuff is actually advanced drones or hypersonics from adversaries like Russia or China? I mean, we've seen reports of spheres and orbs buzzing carriers. Jeremy Corbell actually recounts an orb that lit up a vessel, the bridge of the vessel so bright that the military member couldn't see her hand in front of her face. He's got all that on his YouTube channel. Highly recommend checking that out. But could this be ISR probes testing defenses from other nations and not extraterrestrial life? I mean, Russia's got a history with exotic propulsion claims from the Soviet era. Even George Knapp has done investigations on that. China, though, hypersonics, glide vehicles that can hit Mach 5 plus. That's 3,800 mph. Could this be China doing this? But if some of these files confirm that the adversaries do have this tech, this would ramp up an arms race in the United States. Quotes from President Trump aboard Air Force One. He said, "I don't know if they're real or not." So he's kind of remaining agnostic on the whole situation while pushing for more transparency. But here's a bit of a shocker. This is the sitting president ordering the release on aliens, tying it to public buzz. There's no evidence dump yet, just the start of a process that could take months. But I think President Trump is onto something here. I mean, he's seeing people like Jeremy Corbell, George Knapp, who knows. Maybe he's watched the Weaponized podcast himself. He's seen these high-speed orbs and he's thinking, yeah, I get it. I get why the public is so interested in this. And now the Department of War needs to step in and create deeper transparency. I think it's awesome. But what if this tech is actually ours? So what if this actually belongs to the Department of War? Advanced U.S. engineers could be cooking up black projects that are creating this right now. And that means they need to protect secrets while intertwining this into military systems. I mean, intertwining this into AGM-158s, advanced air-to-surface missiles, even advanced versions of AMRAAMs. Maybe that can go out and strike Chinese aircraft in the South China Sea at much further distances than what traditional AMRAAMs could. Maybe that's alien tech helping with that. But think about stealth integration. The stealth integration going into the F-47, even programs like the F-17 back in the day. But now it's more focused likely on high-speed hypersonics and directed energy weapons. We're going to get to the Hellfire video here in a second, where the Hellfire bounces off of a UAP. So maybe there's a big push now for directed energy weapons, since it looks like something kinetic can't take down these UAPs. But these directed energy weapons could be mounted on vehicles, aircraft, and ships. And the big thing would be here. If this is U.S. tech that is now being intertwined, this alien tech being intertwined into U.S. systems, the big thing would be don't let it leak to Russia or China. you'd want to integrate that into drones and fighters very discreetly and keep that from getting to Russia and China at all costs. So if this is actual alien tech being intertwined into US systems, that level of secrecy would basically be like a steel onion, or like an onion in a strip club, or a stripper named Onion. You know what I'm getting at. But the platforms that are catching this are very interesting as well. MQ-9 Reaper drones, unmanned long-endurance sensor beasts that are flying at 250 mph, 50,000 aus ft. A lot of the footage we've seen has been from the persistent stare, especially in the Persian Gulf from these ISR workhorses. They're the ones that are mainly spotting these anomalies recently. We're talking forward-looking infrared full spectrum that can capture what couldn't probably be captured before. So we're seeing these advanced drones, these MQ-9s, these global hawks that are used for high-altitude overwatch are now confirming a lot of these sightings. Would the sensors in these actually become better because of this extraterrestrial arms race? I mean, it could be. It ups the game of these advanced defense firms, these innovative defense firms like Anduril or Shield AI, and got the Fury drone, which is an autonomous wingman. I mean, the ability to just put new tech into that thing is unmatched. Same with Shield AI. With XPAT, you have these new platforms where we're seeing all this crazy wild capability from these UAPs. So these engineers, these mad scientist engineers, why not just blow the top off and do your best to put similar type technologies in these new advanced aircraft? I mean, the possibilities are endless. So let's move to a section I like to call 4D chess. So what do I think is really going on behind the scenes here? Well, I think President Trump's move is genius with all the buzz that's tied into people wanting UFO transparency. Here's something that keeps running through my mind. You know, thinking from a military perspective, if I was a military member 3,000, 4,000, 10,000 years in the future or more, and I saw what could happen to humanity if the right people didn't have the right technology. Maybe some of this could be gifts from the future US military, gifting it to the current US military. So imagine in the future, you know, the US Air Force, the US Navy, they've got future tech and they're looping it backwards to prevent some sort of catastrophe or nuclear war. I mean, maybe the future US saves present us and the motivations could be to secure dominance without fully revealing the technology, keeping a little bit of plausible deniability. So a slow drip of the files, keep it a little bit mundane, and then have the exotic stuff leaked in back rooms where the future US military knows that the current US military can't fully leak it, and hopefully that protects it from going into the hands of other adversaries. Okay, now let's jump into that orb footage that is in New York, and we'll compare it to that first set of footage that we saw George and Jeremy review, and then after that, I'll be breaking down that Hellfire footage and comparing that. I'm so stoked to look at that. Here we are. Here's the New York City orbs. As you guys can see, they're dancing around. It looks very similar to me to the reaction that George and Jeremy are doing that we saw at the beginning. So is this some sort of staple of UAP tech? Like, is this something they have in their garage, in the alien garage, where they're like, all right, bring out the keys to the magnetic orbs? And then you can see there's some distance between them. So actually up above, there's kind of some distance. They go far apart and then they come back together. Super interesting. Again, kind of like they have that little force field that's keeping them from running into each other. That kind of playful yo-yo move that Jeremy mentions, that's a solid move. I mean, it's fun to watch. It's just, you can't help but just be in awe. Call it resting UFO face, roof. Just sitting here jaw-dropped watching this happen. These are like magnetic type properties that no aircraft that I know of have. You can just kind of see it kind of bouncing, kind of just like bouncing up and down. Yeah, it looks like there's some sort of a field that's connecting them. And I wonder, like we've seen the Hellfire UFO, I'm going to review that here in a second, but is this somewhat similar to that? You know, with the Hellfire UFO, it seems like there was some sort of force field involved in that as well. So are we seeing something that's very similar to that? All right, here's the Hellfire UAP footage. So again, looks like to me some sort of MQ-9 that's tracking it. Oh man, that is just insane. There's the Hellfire, boop. All right, so you can see it bounce. It changes direction, which is wild, doesn't explode. So sometimes Hellfires will have razor blades all around the outside. I don't know if this is one that had that or if it was just one that was going to explode or one with the warhead disabled, so it's just kinetic. I would think it was just a kinetic one. If you don't know what you're going up against, hey, let's just do a kinetic hellfire, one that's not going to explode because we want to see what this craft is. If we can down it, maybe we can recover it. They don't keep going away. They stay somewhat connected to the UAP itself, which is very interesting. That to me is just, that's probably one of the biggest, like, insane technology parts out of all of this, is that they just stay close by. So it's almost like it's like a beehive, you know, or when you see bees that are all gathered together and then you hit it, they all kind of come back. They come back together. So maybe we call this beehive technology. You heard it here first, folks. And then the orb just continues. And you can see right there, that's so interesting. So you can see those little orbs are kind of up above with it, and they're kind of staying with it, but they're not flying away, but they're not coming back into the center either. They're kind of like out there waiting. They're like, whoa, you know, what was that? That woke us up. We're going to stay out here just in case anything else is coming in. So before we go, let's talk about a wild hypothetical scenario. So let's say something goes public. Crystal clear footage and biologics that are completely 100% verified as being not human of some advanced craft. At that point, what we could see is some sort of an arms race panic over tech superiority. China and Russia would demand equal access, potential riots sparking with people saying we've been lied to. Militaries would go on full alert thinking that a potential probe could come in, and there's nothing they could do about it because this exotic tech would be in the hands of some other nation. So worst case here, there could be misinterpreted signals that could lead to an accidental engagement, global crisis over something that's not even hostile. Or the best side of this would be a unified push to do a unified space defense. I mean, at this point, trying to get Russia, China, the US on the same page. I mean, that's kind of a snowball's chance in hell. But if we look at it from an optimistic perspective, who knows? Maybe this type of technology could create even more deterrence and lower the risk of some sort of nuclear conflict. Either way, in this situation, the world would change extremely fast. So what do you guys think? What do you think all this buzz is around this alien tech? Let me know in the comments below. And then go ahead and check out the Weaponized podcast with Jeremy and George. I'll link to that in the description. And on that episode, I recount my different UAP encounters. So you'll definitely want to check that out. That'll be linked in the description as well. If you guys want to see me do a live every week, click the link in the description for the Max Ready Room. I do a live there where we prepare for real-world situations, casual geopolitics, and just things that we should be ready for. And if you want to follow me on X, follow me on Instagram. I'm posting there pretty much every day. I'll see you guys on this next video that pops up right here. This is Ryan, also known as Max Afterburner, signing